Welcome and hello. This is Transparency Talk, and I'm Christina. Today's guest is Sean Florence, aka the Alderman, who is a wardrobe stylist and a fashion designer, who has also worked with the greats. Thank you, Sean, for this opportunity. I've been trying to connect.
I know. I'm excited to be here with you.
And so I know we tried this before, and things happen. And so thank you again for and even inviting me into your home to meet with you and to sit down and have a candid conversation.
Otherwise, you're always welcome.
Thank you. So I do have some questions for you. I know we can do a pre-question, so I may ask you some things you may not be prepared for, but we're gonna get straight to it.
I'm ready.
So where are you from?
I'm born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas.
And so did you attend a college, trade school?
I went to college at the University of North Texas and I did my undergraduate there, which was in pre-law and criminal justice. At one point, I thought I was going to be a lawyer, I actually wanted to do like forensic law, go and examine, the case, but that all changed once I got in college and finally had got the degree. I ended up wanting to do journalism because I had a way with words, how to write, and I wanted to kind of get into the field of, publishing articles in magazines. So I got my master's partly from the University of North Texas, then I finished it over in Europe at the University College of Dublin in Ireland.
Did you say Europe?
Yeah.
So you mean across the water Europe?
Yeah, across
like
the
for
pond.
London and Paris and over there?
Yeah, I did a couple of cohorts there, and so to finish my last year of graduate classes over there. So it was just quite an experience to be able to tour throughout Europe, and that's kind of where I got the bug for fashion. Really, people had always complimented my style, or kind of thought that my style was a little different in college. But it was really when grad school came around and I was in Europe and I kind of soaked in, went to Milan and out Paris and all those places, and kind of soaked up in what the true essence of fashion was. That kind of made me take that journalism degree and start wanting to write about fashion, so I started doing fashion journalism.
Tell me about the name or the brand, the Alderman.
Oh wow. Actually the name came from one of my favorite TV shows, my wife's favorite TV shows. We like Good Times, right? And so it was like I love the idea of the character, the Alderman Davis from Good Times. And so it was like an Alderman that at the time when I came up with that, I didn't even really know what the job of the Alderman was. So when I looked it up, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm so calling myself the Alderman of style. So I was like giving myself this, because Alderman sounds distinguished. It has this, this charm about it, almost like saying Esquire or something, Alderman.
The Alderman.
Yeah, so it was just a thing. I took it and I started calling myself, and I took it and ran with it, and people caught on. Now I'm in the store. Sometimes people who follow me on social media like, Alderman, the Alderman. I actually turn around, so I've actually taken the name on and loved it. Yeah.
Do people call you Sean, or do they call you something else? Do you have a nickname?
Yeah, I have so many people call me, of course, the Alderman. People who know, some people call me Sean, more serious. Then people who really know me, who from the hood, my family, they may call me Greedy. Got it tatted on my arm. That's my childhood name.
Greedy.
Sometimes people have childhood nicknames that are kind of silly and they're embarrassed of. I've never been embarrassed. Like my homeboys, when we come around, like my boys, my true that I grew up with, I don't hear Sean. Everybody calls me Greedy. My best friends, they call me Greedy.
So what does that even mean? Because when I think of greedy, I'm thinking you like to eat a lot.
Well, hey, as a kid, I did like to eat, and that's where the name came from. The story is that it started when I was in the hospital as a kid. At that first night, how babies back then, they used to have the little glass bottles, the little short ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was, of course, when you were a newborn, you drink a little short ones, but I downed a whole, full-size glass bottle, so my dad started calling me Greedy. And it just stuck, yeah.
So your dad is responsible for that nickname?
Yeah.
Do you have any childhood friends from even back then that you're still friends with?
Yes, it was definitely I have a friend that I'm still friends with from elementary school, first grade. I so many friends. It's hard to say. I'm a person. I have a group of best friends. I got a group of 3 good male friends. I got 3 good female friends. You know, so I have a group of best friends. I always stand up there next to me when I got married.
What in those relationships or those friendships, what qualifies them to be your best friend? Because so many people say, oh, I have childhood friends, but they don't talk all the time. They may have moved somewhere differently.
Yeah.
How do you define those friendships?
I think the thing of like a best friend is somebody at that core moment that you know that you can call on, and they know you enough. They know how to take you seriously. They know how to joke with you. They know how to cry with you, and those people that you can trust. You know, secrets or tell. You know, some of your deepest, darkest secrets to, or be able to confide in, even ask. You know, those people. These are people like if I felt like, hey, if I was really down on my luck and say, hey, I need to borrow a couple of $1,000. If they had it, I know I could ask them.
Not a couple of dollars.
A couple of $1,000. Yeah, I know
I need some friends like that.
See, that's why you need, you know, a plethora of friends. Hey, I may have to get 1,000 from you, 900 from you, 500 from you, 200 from you, $20 from you. You know,
that's real.
Yeah, but I value friendship a lot because you need that core group of people around you. Somebody just outside of your family, somebody you can vent to, people you can hang out with. Yeah, it's really cool. And then the fact that my best friend, like you know, is a female, you know, and so it's sometimes people look at that as odd, but I have a connection with 3, you know, good friends who are females, and it's just that they get me and they like hanging out with me, you know, because they're like I both kind of got a little tone where they like hanging out with the boys, and I like, you know what I'm saying, kicking it with them, because sometimes dudes can be drama just as much drama as females. So you know, hey, they can, you know. So I'm cool that I got my male group of friends when I need the male body, and I got a female group of friends.
So let's talk about that, because I know, you know, you're married, obviously, to a beautiful Lola. You both are great friends of mine. A lot of times in marriages, there shifts, you know, whether it's a trust concern or just a control concern.
Right.
A lot of times married men can't have female friends. So bringing that into your concept of your marriage, was there ever a time where it was questionable, or was it just acceptable?
I think one of the things that we did right with the fact of me having a female friend is that I introduced them with me. You know what I'm saying? Like it was up front. Like during the period, I think our relationships need to have that friend phase. And me and Lola, we definitely did go through that friend phase. And when we were in that friend phase, I let her know, like, hey, these are my girls. If it's a package deal. Yeah, it's a package that like our clothing, you can't be jealous. You got nothing. And it's cool because she has developed her own relationship and friendship with those with my friends. So they talk, they text, and one of her best friends is a guy. So she kind of understood the dynamics of that work, and me and him were really cool. You know what I'm saying? Real cool. You know, so it works out. You know, so it's never really,
And I think that's really important. So with everything that you have going on, you basically have many full-time positions.
Right.
Husband, you're a father, you're the alderman.
Yeah.
What do you do for self-care?
Oh man, and that's very important too, because self-care for myself is mental health care. You know, and I'm very open on my social media and everything about mental health care, because I think black men as a whole, that's something that we need to be vocal about. And for, like you say, self-care as a part of it, I think sometimes we run ourselves down by not taking a moment to do the things that we like to do and that de-stresses us. And there's a couple of things that I like to do. One is I started working out and in running, that I'm a runner. I can actually say I'm a runner now because I run pretty much, 4 to 5 times a week, no less than 3 miles a day sometimes, and it's my, and I actually tagged on my thing on my Nike Health Club, on my Nike Run Club as mental health runs. And I do it, and it's just a time when I'm out there running, I turn my music up, and it's just a de-stress for me. And endorphins kick in, and that's just, that's just what I do, I like that. And working out, I started a couple of years ago, but just the again, just working out, the stretching, keeping myself, because I think most time when you feed your body so much crap and you have so much, and you start, you feel down on yourself. You're like, hey, I'm not overcoming something. So I feel like if I can get my health as much as I can by getting my weight in order, my fitness, or even if I get a little jiggly, as long as I'm out there doing something,
you know. Jiggly?
Yeah, jiggly.
It's like gaining weight.
Yeah, or sometimes people can have a little jiggle on them and still be healthy. You know what I'm saying? So even like when I get a little jiggly, and I try not to obsess over it anymore, but I don't even like go to the scale every day. But I know I put in the work. So it's like, hey, I see, a little muscle getting a little thing, I'm gonna go pump a little more. And those two things. And then another thing that I do for self-care is I love to sing. And people might people might not think I have the greatest voice, but I come from a musical family, so I like to sing. And it gets on low nerves sometimes because but I go in, I sing all day long.
Confidence.
Listen, I make up songs. I probably made up about 20 or 30 platinum hits in here.
Okay.
And nobody recorded them, but I crank them out. I sing all day long.
On tune or off tune?
Whatever the spirit hits me. Sometimes Lola, she be like, "Oh, that was a good one. You should have saved that one for when you go live, because you ain't gonna get it again. You're not gonna be able to do it no more." Right? Only so. That's how I do. I like to play a lot, so I like to do all of it, which I'm not trained to do, but I can hold it too.
You mentioned the word obsession, and when in dealing with and recognizing that term, a lot of people consume themselves with certain things in their lives, whether it be their career, even family. What are your flaws in reference to that? Because a lot of times, even in your profession, you tend to want perfection.
Yeah.
So what are those things that you know that you need to work on that you may be obsessed with?
Oh yeah. And speaking of obsession and mental health care, all that, I'm open to admit this because a lot of people don't believe in it or know it. I am obsessive compulsive. I have OCD. I've been diagnosed with it. So I have a lot of strange little tics and things that set me off that I have to overcome. So I try that. I can become obsessed with some of the smallest things, and so I try not to get so obsessed. But one thing I do obsess about is always trying to move my career. Always trying to top myself, do something, and not get into a point to where I'm static, because I'm a creator. I love creating. Creating is my passion. That's what fuels me. That's what drives me. That's what gives me life. And so when I feel myself getting static and I do something, it's like, okay, yeah, I got to plan a show. I got to do a dress. I got to do a photo shoot. I got to do something, So I go into creativity. And I obsess about my creativity because I'm a perfectionist. Yeah.
Most great artists are, whether they're in music, fashion, and even in some careers like, surgeons. In reference to fashion, who or what influences or inspires you?
With fashion, I've kind of moved along the way, I would say, with it, because at one point, as all fashion people start out, they start out by looking what people want, what people are wearing, they kind of follow those trends. And one thing I can say about myself is, as a guy, I always like to push the envelope and not necessarily care about what everybody else was doing, everybody else was wearing. If I liked it, I was gonna, if I liked what I, saw, what I'm shopping and I see something, doesn't matter where it's from. If I like it and I put it on and I feel good in it, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wear it, regardless. Like, if you think like, hey, that's ugly. If you think like, oh no, I don't like it, that's too masculine, that's too feminine, whatever it is, I own what I wear. And so I push that envelope always in fashion. So when it comes to creativity, I'm inspired by those people who push that envelope as far as their style. And like I said, it's kind of a lot of cool people like Iris Ampfield. I love her, Iris with the glasses.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Andre, you know, we don't see him very well because he's very elusive. Andre 3000. You know, he has a whole aura about him. It's those people, you know, for real. You know, people that just kind of go off the beaten path, and a lot of people would expect me to say somebody who's really more polished, you know, like somebody, dapper, you know, and because I can do that, and everybody, you know, can do that. I like somebody who can just own the style. I can see you in a tux one day, I can see you in a suit one day, I can see you in some tennis shoes, and it's all. You know.
So you can put plaid and polka dot together. So if I had on a polka dot shirt and some plaid pants and then an off coat like a yellow boot, I need to own it, or would you be like, no, that don't go to, let me help you?
It's always, it's a funny thing with that, because you can see it on the right. It's all about what you build up to, and I tell you this when I'm styling them. Some people look at the way I dress and some of the stuff that I do, and then especially guys, they want to emulate that, but then it doesn't translate the same on them.
Right.
Because, and it's sad to say, but people may accept it coming from me. They be like, oh, you know, if I wore a hat one time with some feathers hanging out, but like somebody else probably like, where are you doing? Where are you going in that? But because I think people probably like accept it. Okay, he wears. So you build up to where your style is on autopilot, and what you given is style in your polka dot, your plaid, and your yellow shoes. Then it works. But if the outfit carries you and it's just a distraction from who you are, then it doesn't work. Because sometimes you can put like Iris, like I say, Iris does all that. She has on the plaid, the polka dots, a green jacket, some yellow shoes, about 80 bracelets, you know, she has all, she stacks on all of that. But when I say, I'm like, oh, that's so dope. Why? Because she's built us up to know that that's her, she owns it. And when you look at her, you see all of that art on her, but you see her. It's like one piece. You don't see the outfit first, and then like, oh, there's the person inside of it, you know.
Right.
So it's just like being able to own that whole thing.
What is your zero tolerance in friendships or relationships? What is that absolute thing that you just would not accept, that you would not compromise on, period, point blank, .com?
I'm a Pisces, and sometimes they say we can be forgiving people, you know, and I do eventually forgive, especially if it's a long-lasting, you know, friendship or that. But certain betrayals, you know, and are hard to get by. But what I do, I do find very offensive in a friendship is not being able to say you're sorry when you're wrong. If I always have to come and apologize, or I always have to say that I forgive you before you've even said you apologize. You know, some people go, and Pisces, we can sometimes do this, like, oh, I forgive you, because we just want kind of resolution. But if I have to always be that one, it becomes a sign. It's like, okay, you can go out the door. It may not be, the friendship may not be worth it, or the relationship may not be worth it. Because sometimes you have to love from afar to get your inner peace. And sometimes we are afraid of hurting someone by pushing them away. And so we look after their feelings by also neglecting our own. So I think, you know, people have to own
And that's heavy.
Yeah, it is.
And then you look back and you're like, it's a weighted lift off of me. So aside from being the alderman, what else do you like to do in your hobbies, in your free time? Can you cook? What do you like to do? You said singing.
Listen, I am, and this is funny, when I'm chilling out, and sometimes people think this because I'm into fashion or style, is that when I'm in my regular element, sometimes people who meet me for the first time, or we just that, you know, and they want us they start off with fashion, which is cool, you know, start with the conversation of style. But people be surprised. I don't like just sitting at home talking about clothes and runway. Like I'm not. I actually I like style, I like fashion, but it's work. It's also an art, it's my craft. So sometimes it's like I want to straight. When I'm with my boys, with my peeps, we not sit there talking about what Marc Jacobs put out or what's on the Balenciaga runway. We're not doing that. It's just a regular conversation. And people, so I like hanging out with friends. So I do like, you know, chilling with my friend, having little kickbacks. I like socializing, and so COVID has been really cruel to me in that sense. It's taking a big chunk out of, you know, my normal routine of being able, because sometimes I usually socialize as a part of my mental health care. I need to get out and be around people because I'm a social person. So having that been taken away from me has been hard. I like to sometimes just sit down and do nothing. I'm cool with that. Like being by myself, going back in my media room, turning off the lights, just being back
Just
there.
reflecting.
Just reflecting. May have some time, you know, look, I'm a person who desires to be around people, but at the same time, I just like some moments to myself. I go out in the garage sometimes, just sit out there.
And that's self-care too.
Yeah, it
You
is.
need to be quiet and just come to yourself.
Exactly.
You
It's-
mentioned your boys. Now hold on. Let's talk about that just for a minute.
Okay.
Are you a member of any organizations?
Yeah. And
if so, what organizations?
Yes, I am a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the Zeta Upsilon Chapter, Spring '99 Trade Club.
So you were, what is that? Explain Trade Club to me.
I was the third. It was a line of three, just us three. So I was the tail. I was the tallest, and so I was the trade club.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm proud.
So
member.
those are your boys who
Oh,
you hang out with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's what in high school I went through, of course, the guide program and all of those.
So you were a Kappa leader.
Yes, and
Okay.
it was like, okay, I was already exposed to the Kappa Alpha, the greatness of Kappa Alpha Psi in high school. So I knew that I with intention that whatever campus I was going to, I made sure that they had a chapter because I knew that was a part of the plan.
What is your favorite color?
And it's just favorite color is red. It has nothing to it. Favorite color is red. I like black too. My favorite color is red and black. As you can see, I'm wearing red and black now. Red and black now. And my wardrobe, I have lots of red and black tennis shoes. I have lots of red tennis shoes because and I treat red and black like people just treat, or red like people just treat black. Like I'll throw some red whatever I want to if I feel like just put on some red tennis shoes with whatever and go
spontaneous with it.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned attending school in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 2 destinations, either where you've been and you would like to go back, or where you haven't been and you would love to travel to.
Oh yeah. I would love to go back to. I got a couple. I would love to go back to Amsterdam. Ireland was beautiful though. Like staying there in Ireland and going all the way down to the south of Ireland, like Galway and Glendalough, all those places like that. That was cool because it's castles and it's cliffs and it's shore and it's all kinds of unique things in Ireland. And it kind of just makes you feel like you're in a small place, even though over there Dublin is a big city, but it still makes you feel like you're in a little small cottage, area or something like that. Yeah, it's very, like the hills are alive, very green, so that was cool. But I loved Amsterdam. Like people think of it, all of the legal drugs, legal prostitution in Amsterdam. When I first, according to, like I would say, being around in my 20s when I first went there, you would think that from what you've heard, you would expect a city that was like dirty, gritty, grimy, like all that, But it was the most beautiful place to me. That people ride more bicycles than cars, and even like the red light district was very like classy. Windows raised up, it looked like little Bloomingdale shop windows. They had little C's in there. I was like, cool. So I was like, I could see myself like if I know it's kind of hard to say to your family to move. I could see myself probably living in Amsterdam.
I don't know if Lola would go for that.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't. Definitely not.
But she's not going for that.
And another place that I have not been that I would like to go is I want to go to Bora Bora. Yeah, it's just a little dot out there in the water.
Can you swim?
I'm a Pisces.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm drawn to water. I'm really drawn to water.
You just never know. A lot of our people are not able to swim, and they say they can.
Yeah.
But really and truly, you put them out there in the deep, it's
Like,
another story. It's another story.
Yeah,
What
I'm
would you
pretty strong.
say to male or female that had a desire for fashion, even though they look in the magazines and they see whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, transgender, and you're looking at their style and this is their vision? What is the takeaway? What would you tell them that they should do to get in that arena?
I would say the fashion business is very similar, I would say, to the music business. It's how it's like a little bit of talent plus luck, and opportunity, and now with the age of social media, you can create your opportunity. I've seen people who surpassed me who just got in the game like that because they had that opportunity, had a break of luck. Somebody saw them and was like, oh, now I want you to come, style me or work with me, and it's like, okay, they probably weren't that great at that point, but now they have the access. So I would tell someone who's trying to get into this business is to be true to the craft, and that's in anything. If you're getting in it, just solely getting ready, waiting for that big break to just like come like that, it is probably going to be a disappointment. If you do it because you love to do it and you want to stay committed to it, and I believe this with anything, if you put your passion to it, your heart to it, your prayer on it, and you commit to it, that it can happen. Because I never would have dreamed that. I started sewing, I would say, when I got back from Europe and all that, and I really couldn't find a job in the industry. I really couldn't find a job what I wanted to, be it that with my pre-law and criminal justice degree, I couldn't, it was just, I graduated during the recession. And so it was a part when I was down on my luck. I knew that I liked fashioning and started doing it a little bit, but I was like, hey, so everybody out there probably want to be a stylist. Just say I'm a stylist. So like, what can I do to separate myself from the rest? So I took the little money I had, went and bought a sewing machine. My mom knew how to sew, and she kind of taught me a couple of things, and then I just picked it up, started going, watching videos, trial and error, and I taught myself how to sew, how to do custom pattern making and all of that, and myself, and pretty much scaled myself through the industry. And it was because I stayed persistent. There were so many times I felt like, hey, nobody's looking at me, but I kept looking and looking. And what I would always do is and that's just one of the things I would tell the people looking at, is to look at where the industry is, look at what people are marveling over. Don't try to copy that, but copy the quality of it. Don't copy the image, don't copy the clothes, copy the quality. Look how glossy their pictures are. Look how well edited they are. Look how, if you go to a fashion, you see a fashion, so look everything that they put into it. Look at the timing, the clothes, the lighting, the stage, the ambiance. All of that, copy that, and it puts you on a level to separate you from other people. 'Cause some people don't pay attention to those details, and I think that's helped my career a lot. As having modeled for me before, I put a lot of detail into the shows to try to make it feel like, hey, you going to a major event, and adding that theatrics to my show, and it's kind of moved me up here. And then I would do something else and do a photo shoot and move up, and it just kind of excel for me. And I think that's what happened, is that I stayed true to it. I always tried to top myself, and that commitment that I had to topping myself still goes on today. And so and I still had that passion to design, and one of the big things in 2020 is that the world shut down, and so did the arts and the performing arts and the parties and the fashion shows. A lot of that stopped. And concerts, I make pretty good money doing concert tour wardrobe.
Yes. So I've heard one of my favorite artists whom you've worked with. So I'm hearing, passion, quality, and commitment. Sean, I really appreciate being able to sit with you today, listen to you, have a candid conversation with you. I've learned a few things about you, and so I appreciate that transparency.
Oh, no problem.
And maybe, hopefully, we'll get together again and have a part 2.
Oh, yes.
So, thank you again for your time. It was, with COVID and things like you said being shut down, we're not able to really socialize as we would usually do as an extrovert.
Yeah.
So, again, this is Transparency Talk. I'm Christina. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.